So today we're going to contrast and compare The Will to Believe by William James and The Allegory of the Cave by Plato. Before we begin to compare and contrast, let's just give a brief summary over what happened in each story. To begin with the allegory, the story begins with a group of prisoners stuck inside a cave. They've been in there their whole life. There's a fire behind them that casts shadows onto a wall. This is their only sense of reality. The pictures that they see on the wall are being controlled by the puppeteers. They're only being shown the images that the puppeteers want them to see. One day, one of the prisoners manages to escape. While climbing up the steps, he notices that the shadows being shown on the wall through the flame was just a show being presented to them by the puppeteers. As he reaches the top of the cave, he becomes blinded by the sun. After he's able to focus his eyes, he begins to take notice of what the real world looks like. Having this new experience of the real world, he now reflects his life in the cave, comparing and contrasting his life now to life back then. He compares the light from the sun to the flame from the fire. Having this newfound experience, he decides to go back into the cave to educate the other prisoners. As he walks down into the cave, he has to readjust his eyes to the darkness. He's having a hard time seeing the shadows and everything's blurry. The other prisoners make fun of him. They think that he spoiled his eyes by going out and leaving the cave. When he attempts to educate them, they don't believe what he's saying. They think he's gone crazy, and they even plot to kill him. Since he's seen the true light, it's hard for him to conform back into his old life, going back into the darkness, seeing what's false. The main points of this story are the path from the cave into the sun represents the path to enlightenment. Going from the cave into the light is used as a metaphor for gaining more education. The prisoners chained inside the cave are meant to represent individuals in society who are closed-minded. It is only by becoming free or educating yourself and climbing up those steps that individuals gain knowledge. The prisoners are meant to represent people in society who are just comfortable in their ignorance. They don't want to progress. They want to stick with the information that they already know. Now we will discuss The Will to Believe. James wrote this piece as a response to Clifford, who feels it is wrong to believe in something without sufficient evidence. James is challenging this argument. He convinces the reader that it's okay to have faith without proof. He believes that faith in a fact can help create that fact. Waiting around for sufficient evidence can cause you to miss out on very important truth. So it's important to take a leap of faith, because you never know what the possibility or the outcomes of that leap of faith may be. The similarities between William James and Plato are that James believes that it is our willing nature that tells us what to do or when to act. And Plato believes that people have to will themselves to learn, otherwise they'll remain ignorant. The differences between the two is that William James believes that learning can only take place through action, while Plato believes that through reasoning and reflection can education be acquired. In Plato's story, it isn't until the prisoner escapes prison and is able to reflect back on his life in the cave now that he's a free man in the sun that he realizes what the real world is. Meanwhile, in James's argument, James preaches that education isn't enough. You have to get out, you have to explore in order to discover new truths.